Hand-to-hand combat. It's every soldier's greatest fear, fighting face-to-face, using only your hands and wits to survive. Today, modern coalition armies are training their soldiers to win battles in every dimension of war, including combatives. The training for close combat is intense, merciless, and unforgiving. It has to be. The stakes are high in this win or lose contest. It's the difference between life or death. Since the dawn of war, close combat fighting has been the bread and butter of conflict. Even in World War I, trench warfare called upon soldiers' abilities to fight hand-to-hand combat to overcome an enemy. Despite massive changes in technology, World War II still witnessed the continued use of close combat. In places like Sicily, Belgium, and France, American, British, and Canadian soldiers slugged it out in urban settings. Hand-to-hand combat was the norm in house-to-house battles. The fighting was often intense and brutal. As technology and weaponry improved in lethality and range, the perceived need for close combat fighting diminished. Throughout the Cold War years, training for this type of combat had virtually disappeared. The exception was only within Special Forces units. By the time of the first Gulf War in 1991, close combat training was almost a thing of the past. However, peacekeeping missions in urban settings like Bosnia and Somalia made many coalition forces rediscover they needed this type of infantry training. Based on feedback from the field, the U.S. Army decided to do something about their combatives training. Fort Benning, Georgia, one of the largest and most progressive training bases in the U.S. Army. It's here the military established the U.S. Army Combative School, the first of its kind within coalition armies. The man behind the school is Matt Larsen, Director of Combatives for the U.S. Army. Matt is a former U.S. Ranger who took a keen interest in hand-to-hand combat. He realized that the U.S. Army was lacking in this important skill set and wanted to do something about it. Matt also helped rewrite the U.S. Army Field Manual on hand-to-hand combat, the core lesson plan for teaching instructors and students alike.
Well, I'm the creator of the Modern Army Combatives program, and I'm currently the director of the program for the United States Army. Combatives is one of the fundamental building blocks of a soldier. And not only that, in this war we're finding that it's pretty routine to have actual hand-to-hand combat. And so it's much more important than people would have thought before the war. We're not going to win this war or the next war because we're great hand-to-hand fighters. We are going to win, though, because of what it takes to be a great hand-to-hand fighter. If you imagine, what does it mean to be a warrior? Well, the defining characteristic of a warrior is the willingness to close with the enemy. And there's only one way to instill that, and that's to get in there with somebody. Well, This training is for all soldiers. They learn the fundamentals of it in basic training, and then at various points along their career in the various courses, they have to learn what it takes to lead units in this training at that point. For example, before you can be a sergeant, you have to go to the Warrior Leaders course, and in that course they learn how to train their soldiers and the fundamental skills. At the same time, a captain will learn what he needs to know to have a successful program in the company that he's going to command.
With over 1 million soldiers in the U.S. Army, the problem was how to effectively train everyone. The Combative School was established to teach the teachers. With 4 instructor certification courses, the intent is to provide units throughout the U.S. Army with a qualified cadre of instructors. The problem is, how do you keep soldiers motivated to keep fit and trained?
If you imagine a civilian martial arts instructor, their expertise is to take self-motivated people and give them a skill. Well, that's a far different thing from training 1.2 million people in the United States Army, Guard, and Reserves. What's really critical is the system behind it. We have to figure out what to teach them, when to teach it to them, and how to provide enough instructors to get that to an organization that literally spans the globe. Well, what we do here at the Combative School is we train the trainers. So we send instructors out around the Army. We have 4 different courses that they go to in turn, levels 1 through 4, for platoon, company, battalion, and brigade level master trainers, and then they go out and train everyone else around the Army. Most hand-to-hand combat programs are kind of ad hoc. A commander who has 8 or 10 weeks will say to his martial arts expert, hey, you need to come up with a program. And so that guy with his 27 years of experience, he says, what can I teach that's simple, easy to learn, effective? So they learn that in 8 or 10 or 15 hours, it doesn't really matter how much, and then they go out to the force and they never train again. Because what they didn't learn were the training methodologies and approaches that are going to make them continue to grow and learn. So what we really try to do is lay a foundation of training. And this is really, the Combatives program is a method to teach realistic training. And once they have that, then they can go out and continue training the rest of their careers, the rest of their lives. And that's where the real skill development happens. One of the key things we've done in the Combatives program is realize that you have to motivate people to train. And the way we do that is by having competitions. So if you can be the best in your squad or your platoon or in the whole Army, there's a reason to excel. So right now, soldiers around the Army, they compete to be the best in their unit, and then the best of units around the Army, the division and post champions, all come to Fort Benning once a year to compete to be the Army champions. And that's what's going on this week.
Each year, the U.S. Army holds an intense combatives competition at Fort Benning. Soldiers and even airmen come from bases throughout the world to compete. Even women soldiers compete. The purpose is simple: to hone their skills and motivate the soldiers to keep trained and fit. Fit for future combat, anywhere in the world. For many, this is their first real test of unarmed combat. And tested they will be.